Hey, so real quick before we jump into the podcast, a lot of you guys ask me, how can you get your questions featured on a podcast? So if you want to get your questions featured on the next podcast, comment your questions under this podcast, and I will answer them in the very next one. So in order to know if your question is going to be answered, I will like your question left under this podcast. Now, I just had to say that before I jumped into the podcast because people constantly ask me, I want my question answered in the next one. Well, there you go. Now let's jump into it. What is up, my people? Welcome back to Trippy Speaks UFC. You already know we are the champions of the MMA content creation world. The rest of the world is just contenders. Also, you guys already know this. Every like, every comment, and every subscriber gives me motivation daily to bring you guys the best MMA content on YouTube, and that really means a lot. So if you guys really do enjoy the content, you guys really do enjoy my upload schedule, all these good things, you know what I mean? Go ahead and, subscribe to the channel. Because I read a statistic the other day on my little YouTube Studios app. Dude, about 90% of you guys who watch my stuff isn't even subscribed. How does that make any sense? It makes no sense, and I don't even get that many crazy views, but I just see that a lot of you guys aren't even subscribed. Craziness. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the stuff. We had some good UFC fights last night. We can go ahead and start with Alex Caceres versus Duncan Choi. Now, look, I know there was a lot of hype surrounding Duncan Choi. Not a lot, but, he was definitely the favorite going in, and, a lot of people had their eyes on him, a lot of the hardcore fans, and, he ended up getting beat. And it started off well for him. He rocked Alex Caceres, but then he ended up getting submitted. And that was the more craziest thing, is just that, Duncan Choi, and I get it. The size difference and the power difference was insane. But I'm going to say this. If there was a way that I thought Alex Caceres is going to win this fight, I seriously thought if I was really a betting man and I was like, Alex Caceres is going to win, and if I had to bet on a way that he was going to win, I thought that he was just going to outpoint him, point fight him from the outside, use that funny, awkward style, that footwork, and then just basically dance circles around him. I would have never expected, especially against Duncan Choi, I would have never expected a finish. I would have never expected that. But, great fight. Alex Caceres got transported straight to the hospital. I hope that he's okay, because let's be honest, what's next for these two gentlemen? For Duncan Choi, honestly, he needs to just, go back to fighting cans again, I guess. And for Alex Caceres, let's be honest, the guy is 34 years old. Alex Caceres he was always been a good fighter. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but he's never been a top-level fighter. Never been an elite fighter. So, for him, I don't even know. He's kind of just been comfortable at where he's been at. He's just always been around this level, and he just seems comfortable with it. So, let's not do anything different with him, I guess. Just let him keep being where he's at. He's a weird guy, too, man. But let's talk about the fight that everybody came to see. Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vittori. Hey, so, you guys, look. I understand that Paulo Costa had a lot of unprofessionalism going into this fight. He almost became a villain, in my opinion. The 100 people that they did have in the crowd were booing him when they were introducing him. And I really strongly do feel like he's going to become a little bit of a villain after this fight. Especially if he would have won, he probably would have been a full-blown villain. And that honestly would have been hilarious if he would have beat Marvin Vittori. Especially if he would have finished him. Oh my gosh, I would have cracked up. It would have been so hilarious seeing how MMA Twitter and MMA Reddit and freaking the MMA community on YouTube would have exploded, man. They would have been like, he cheated. They would have been like, he came in there with the size advantage and all this other crazy stuff. Man, the fight turned out being an amazing fight. And I think that Paulo Costa honestly helped his stock a lot after that. That boy came to scrap. Marvin did too. I'm not going to take anything from Marvin. He came to scrap. The only bad thing I'll say about Marvin is that the guy can't punch. The guy just cannot punch. He needs more power, bro. I didn't know that his power was that. In my opinion, if Colby Covington was at middleweight, they'd have the same amount of power, is how I look at it. He can hurt you, but he's not a one-shot KO artist. He's not even close. Paulo Costa isn't even a one-shot KO artist. But, he has. In the fight, especially in the boxing exchanges, I could see a clear power advantage for Paulo Costa. But I've already knew that there was a power advantage for Paulo Costa. Paulo hits hard. The reason why he doesn't one-shot KO guys, I really don't know. I think it's because he telegraphs all the shots he throws. I think it's like people can see his combinations coming, and so they brace for it before it hits them. Other than that, I don't know why. The guy clearly hits hard. He hits very hard. He just doesn't put people away with one shot. He can hurt you with one shot, but he doesn't really one-shot knock out people. What I think what is basically the bread and butter of his game is that he puts together these horrendous combinations and they hit you so hard. It's almost like a pain tolerance thing. He hits you so hard and you feel every single one of them that they kind of just wilt and just kind of give up due to all the volume and how hard he hits. But yeah, the guy doesn't hit, like, he's not a one-shot KO artist. So I think that has to do with accuracy and the fact that he telegraphs his shots. Other than that, the guy clearly hits hard. He just doesn't knock people out. So, Marvin Vittori, let me just say this, boy, they both brought it, and they both came forward, and one thing that I was impressed with was the head movement of Marvin Vittori and his toughness. I mean, you guys, he ate like 100 body kicks that fight. He ate so many, and Paulo throws those with evil intent, and I said it. I said it in my pre-fight breakdown. I said, if Paulo Costa wants to extend his chances in this fight, he needs to go to the body. Paulo Costa worked the heck out of that body, and those body shots would have wilted anybody else except Marvin Vittori, I guess. Those were some lethal, nasty body shots. And I ended up almost calling everything to a T, except for the 4th round submission part. And that Marvin didn't wrestle as much as I thought that he was going to. But I know why he didn't wrestle as much. I said it. Paulo Costa has a really good takedown defense. He has really good takedown defense. Honestly, some of the best I've seen. I think he has better takedown defense than Israel Adesanya. I do. Because the guy is just big and he's muscular and he's strong, man. That is why Usman has such good takedown defense. Whenever you're that much stronger and that much bigger than your opponents, it's hard to take you down. It's really hard to take you down. And so, Marvin only went to the wrestling. I believe he only shot like 2 or 3 times. Okay, more than that. He's probably shot like 5 or 6 times, but he landed only 2 takedowns, I believe. And both times, Paulo sprung right back up. So a lot was made of Paulo Costa's gas tank coming into this fight. And basically, I stand where I've always stood with Paulo Costa. His gas tank sucks. And it always has sucked. And no, it didn't show me anything different with his gas. If anything, his gas tank looked worse. I'm not even kidding. People are like, oh my gosh, he pushed the pace. He still came to fight. And he was still... That's because Marvin Vittori started slowing down too. You guys are saying Marvin Vittori was this cardio machine. No, he's not. No, he's not. He has good cardio. He can last the 5 rounds. But he doesn't keep the same pace. He doesn't. He slows down and he starts mouth breathing like Israel Adesanya said. Especially when you make him wrestle. The guy doesn't shoot. He didn't shoot that much on Paulo Costa because Paulo Costa, obviously has good takedown defense, and that Paulo is a big dude. And that if Marvin would have shot on Paulo Costa and didn't get the takedowns, Marvin Vittori would have gassed quicker. So let me go ahead, because a lot of you guys say that I don't know how to fight and all this other nonsense, blah, blah, blah. But let me teach you guys something about wrestling real quick. So, whenever you're in a fight and you're wrestling, the only time you get gassed out, first of all, wrestling is a grueling sport, period. If you want to build some muscle as a scrawny dude and want to learn how to fight at the same time, do wrestling. You're going to gain a lot of muscle trying to do that. But anyway, like I was saying. So, whenever you're fighting a wrestler and they shoot in on you, a big, good double leg, and you defend it successfully, it takes more out of their gas tank than it did you. Like, if you want to gas a wrestler out, you got to defend the takedowns and basically make them work for the takedowns. Make them work and then defend it. That is going to take the air out of them. If you guys didn't know that. That's why Colby Covington and Kamaru Uzman didn't wrestle the first time. Because whoever would have shot and their takedown got defended, that would have diminished the gas tank a little bit. Especially if it was a deep takedown and they were against the fence and they ended up not getting the takedown completely. First of all, when you're bent over like that, you can't breathe properly trying to shoot for the takedown, and your arms get tired out. So whenever they lift back up, it's like a big huff and puff that they take. Just watch it. Just next time you watch MMA, just watch whenever a wrestler shoots for a takedown and they don't get it. Watch their body language after they rise back up if it's not early on. But anyway, I'm getting more past my point. So basically what I'm trying to say is that's why Marvin didn't go too heavily on the wrestling, because he would have gassed out if Paulo Costa would have, especially, another thing, especially when a wrestler shoots, they get you down and you spring back up. That's going to take, well, really that's going to take gas out of both of y'all's tank. But the thing is that you make the wrestler work whenever they don't get the takedown. Whenever they do get the takedown, that's a lot less grueling whenever they miss it. That's why Marvin didn't shoot too much, because he was going to gas out quicker if he went to the wrestling and he couldn't get the takedowns. So they ended up standing and banging for the most part. Marvin is tough as nails, and Marvin really pushed it to Paulo Costa, which ended up really winning him this fight, is the activity. He just outworked Paulo. Clearly outworked him. And Paulo had some nasty body shots, which then started taking their toll in the 5th round. And the 5th round was probably the only round that Paulo won. I believe he won the 5th, and whichever round that he took Marvin Vittori down. Sorry, guys, I don't remember that round. But it was one round where Paulo got Marvin down and started ground and pounding him like very slightly, and then Marvin pops back up. That round, Paulo won 2. So I gave 2-3 Marvin Vittori. Not a dominant win, but he definitely won. That's how I see it. And so, yeah, man, great, fantastic fight. But let's talk about Dana White saying that Paulo Costa is now banned from the 185-pound division, and that he has to fight light heavyweights now. He has to fight a light heavyweight. I'm going to say this. Unpopular opinion, maybe. I think if Paulo Costa really took this fight serious, because in my opinion, he really didn't. He gassed out way too quick for me. I think if Paulo Costa fought the way he fought Yoel Romero, if that Paulo Costa showed up to this fight, I think he could have beat Marvin. Defended most of the takedowns and came at him angry, came at him like insane, and tried to finish him like how he did Yoel Romero, came out that aggressive and then started gassing late in the 3rd. I think he had a strong chance to winning this decision. I think he could have won 3 out of the 5 rounds. But, okay, he didn't. And so I can't even say that. That Paulo didn't show up. So, it is what it is. But let's talk about his light heavyweight chances. Man, when I look at the light heavyweight division, this is not a good division for Paulo Costa, man. Especially for his style. Paulo Costa is extremely open to jabs and counters. That is not a good thing coming into the light heavyweight division, man. Who is he gonna? I can't even look. Who can he beat? Honestly, I'm looking at everybody. Who can he beat? He's not gonna beat both guys. First of all, Glover's way too big, and Jan Blachowicz is way too big, and has the boxing to knock out Paulo Costa back. That fight goes terribly for him. Paulo Costa versus Jan Blachowicz, that is a terrible fight for Paulo Costa. Same thing with Glover. Glover's way too big. Smothers him. He's not defending every single takedown against Glover. And if he does, he's going to get outpaced. Glover's going to finish him. And Thiago Santos, Johnny Walker, he might be able to beat Johnny Walker. That is a maybe. Because Johnny Walker doesn't have the best defense, and Paulo can go after him. He could possibly beat Johnny Walker. Especially if his power, if he gets used to the division, and he could turn some of that power that he had at middleweight and turn that into more of a one-shot, like, have more pop to his punches. And maybe he could start one-shotting guys at 205. He maybe could be able to beat Johnny Walker. I'm looking at everybody else, man. Thiago Santos, nope, he gets knocked out. But that's actually a fun fight, though. That'll be very back and forth, but I just think Paulo gets hit once, and he doesn't fight the same way. Because that's what happens to him and Izzy. Whenever he got hit with that high kick, Paulo Costa, he already wasn't fighting the same. He already came in with a weird game plan. But once he got hit with that high kick and ate those jabs, he really stepped off the gas pedal. And I think the same thing would almost happen with him and Thiago Santos. I think Thiago hits him one big time, and Paulo Costa moves back down to middleweight. One collide, and Paulo Costa is not fighting at light heavyweight anymore. Dana White really needs to see and look. Dominic Reyes, although Dominic Reyes doesn't look too good at this time, he still beats Paulo Costa. Way too technical. Paulo's going to try and go after him. Dominic Reyes is just going to outbox him simply. Keep moving. Dominic Reyes has good footwork, good kicks. He has a really good stand-up game, period. Dominic Reyes has really good fundamentals. Paulo Costa just lacks fundamental defense. He runs at you, runs into jabs, and runs into counter shots. And I just think if Dominic Reyes doesn't catch him with something and knock him out, I just think that Dominic Reyes just outpoints him, simply outstrikes him. Paulo Costa starts to gas, and Dominic Reyes could possibly put him away, honestly. Or he just dances around him for 5 rounds. Yeah, I'm looking at everybody here. I think Paulo Costa, Yuri Prochazka, no. I think Paulo Costa gets finished maybe late third. Yeah, all of these guys. I don't really see how he would be able to really make this his home, because Paulo Costa's style is being the bully. He's not bullying any of these guys. He's not going to bully anybody bigger than him, man. He's just not. So his best chances are at middleweight. Why? Because he was the bully there. He was the bully. I'm not saying that he's going to be a title. I used to think that before I seen his holes get extremely put on blast against Israel Adesanya. But I used to think that after I seen the way he walked down Yoel Romero and brought it to him, I was like, to be honest, I don't think that Izzy could do anything to scare this man. If you walk down Yoel Romero, you are simply fearless. But I was proven to be extremely wrong. He feared Israel Adesanya going to that. I don't know what it was, but man, he did not fight. No, And although I favored Izzy to win that fight at the very beginning, I just thought that Paulo Costa would have put up a really good fight, but he didn't, and I don't know why. But yeah, he's not going after anybody like that at light heavyweight, is what I'm basically trying to say. His light heavyweight title chances are far more slimmer than his 185 title chances. It's basically what I'm saying. If I'm Paulo Costa, man, I'm really trying to negotiate with Dana White and saying, like, hey, look, man, I know I missed. I'm sorry. Please let me fight at 185. Because his style is not going to fare well at 205. It's just not. He can't be the bully there. Everybody there is almost bigger than him. Like, height-wise, I understand the guy weighs a lot, but that's not going to do him well against these light heavyweight guys, man. And plus, we seen him fight with the extra weight on him, and he gassed out. Literally, at the end of the first round, Paulo Costa was gassed. What the heck? What is that going to do him any good? That boy seriously needs to fix his gas tank. But, yeah, man, those are my opinions on what's next. As for Marvin Vittori, in my opinion, the harsh truth about Marvin Vittori is just that he's not the clear best guy in the division. I know he said that. He said him and Israel Adesanya are the best guys in the division. I think that Marvin Vittori is of the best guys in the division. I think that he can beat a lot of these guys. I think that he can beat Derek Brunson. I think that he could possibly beat Jared Cannonier. Possibly, only because Marvin's so durable. And Jared Cannonier, you can neutralize his offense to where he doesn't throw much. Like, it's under the wrestling, you can overwhelm him, maybe, and he's way bigger than Jared Cannonier. Competitive, honestly, might be a little boring, but I think that he could possibly beat Cannonier, but he's not beating Robert Whittaker. I can't see him beating Robert Whittaker. Him and Robert Whittaker and Adesanya are just the two guys he's not going to be able to get past, is what I see. And that is just the harsh truth. And if Robert Whittaker loses to Izzy again, I wonder what's next for him, But Marvin, he's gonna hover around that division because his style is so good. He is a pretty good fighter. He's just not the best in that division. I think they would match him against Whittaker, especially if he loses to Adesanya. I think they'll match those two together, and Whittaker beats him and sends Marvin packing again. Other than that, man, the middleweight division, I know a lot of people made a lot of this division. It's honestly a little boring. I'm not going to lie. It's honestly a little boring. You got the same fights everywhere. And it's clear, you got the top 3 clear best people, top 4 maybe, including Jared Cannonier. We got to see how he fights Derek Brunson. But middleweight's boring, man. It is. That division is starting to need a little bit of water. They need to water the grass up there, man. In a way, I still wish Yoel Romero was still around because there's some fun matchups to have with him. Like, imagine Yoel Romero against Marvin Vittori. That would be fireworks because Marvin would bring it to Yoel. And I think Yoel's power and Jared Cannonier's power are possibly the only power that could possibly rock Marvin Vittori. That's it. Paulo rocked him, but I'm talking about, like, drop him. So with that being said, let's jump right into the questions. Our first question comes from a man by the name of Dragon's Rage. What's up, my boy, Dragon's Rage? Back at it again. He asks, how many fights does it take for Conor to beat Dustin? I believe 4 times is the charm. To be honest with you, Dragon's Rage, no. I think, well, actually, yeah. Actually, I can kind of see it. Only if Conor fights somebody else, first. Maybe get him like 1 or 2 wins to really get his mojo back, to really get the feel of the cage back. Because Conor's striking style, if Conor's sharp, and that's the thing, man. Conor needs to come back sharp, and he needs to come back like the way that he fought Nate Diaz. Go back and watch Conor versus Diaz 2, and watch the way Conor struck in that fight. Watch the way he struck in that fight. Those leg kicks and the left hand was just precision timing. That Conor finishes Dustin in the first 2 rounds. That's what I'm saying. It's just that Conor McGregor has to fight like that in order to beat Dustin. Bomb the leg and set up the left hand over and over again. Dude, that is literally Dustin. That's almost a striking kryptonite to Dustin Poirier. But Conor has to keep that up, because especially if he can't knock out Dustin over 2 rounds and Conor starts to slow down, he's gonna get finished, because Dustin Poirier is a better finisher than Nate Diaz is. He's gonna get beat the hell up. But he could make it to where Dustin is so damaged that he won't be able to push the pace up against him like that. If he damages that leg for 2 straight rounds and set up left hand after left hand, even if Dustin's able to take them, he's not going to be able to walk Conor down in the 4th and 5th. He won't be able to do that because he'll be so damaged at that point. And so it just end up being a war. So yes, Conor can beat Dustin. Will he do it in McGregor versus Poirier 4? Like I said, Conor will have to really get his sharpness back. He has to get his striking to where it used to be. And to be honest with you, fam, it doesn't look like Conor is going to get that version of him back. He's just not. It takes that good of a Conor to beat Dustin. The best version of Conor does beat Dustin Poirier, including this version of Dustin, which is clearly the best Dustin that there's ever been. Conor beats that version of Dustin. Prime Conor does. This Conor, no, he gets smashed again. I think this Conor, each time they fight, it'll just become slowly worse and worse and worse. He starts getting finished more and more sporadically. But there's only so many tools you can use to beat a man, until they start picking up on every single tool you got. So who knows? But what I'm saying is, this version of Conor cannot beat Dustin Poirier. Moving on. Our next question comes from Ram Parker, and he goes, excellent video, and appreciate your breakdown a lot. I am from the UK, but my family is originally from India. Shout out to India, man. I was wondering, do you think GSP and Khabib could still have a super fight, basically? Ram Parker, the sad truth is no. I don't think that fight will happen. No, I think that fight is completely out of the realm of possibility, because GSP is retired, although he still is on the contract with the UFC, which is weird. GSP is retired and Khabib is retired, and because of religious reasons or family reasons, he won't return. And I think that he's going to stick to his guns, and he even said he's not interested in old GSP. He feels like GSP is too old, and GSP can't make lightweight anyway. So it'll be an aged and worn down version of GSP, sunked out, drawn out version of GSP, where he has to shred all the way to 155 pounds. So basically, it'll be far from the best version of GSP. And just like Khabib, I'm not interested in seeing that either. Who wants to see an aged GSP versus Khabib? I don't want to see that. So, no, I don't think that fight will happen. I think maybe it could have happened way back in the day, but no, I don't think that it's going to happen. Okay, so now we move on to our last question, and this guy deleted his question. I don't know why people keep doing this. My reasoning in my head, I believe it's because they'll look through my catalog of videos and see that I'd made a video on their question, and so they delete it. So if you guys want your questions featured in the podcast, just ask them. Even if the question has already been answered, just ask them and I'll still answer them, you know? Anyway, but this guy basically asks, how can Colby Covington beat Kamaru Uzman? Okay, so look, I'm going to shorten this down because I'm going to have a breakdown come out for this later. But basically, Colby Covington can't come in with the same game plan he did the last time. He can't sit and only have a kickboxing match with Kamaru and try to break Kamaru under the pace and outpace him. Because, yeah, there's a possibility he doesn't get caught and he outworks Usman for 5 rounds. Because I agree with the people that said 3-1 Covington. I believe Usman won 3 rounds. Usman won 1 round and Colby won 3. I agree with that. But he ended up getting caught. That is literally what happened in the fight. Like, there was no other thing. The body shots made Colby lower his hands a few times, and he just ended up getting caught with a big punch. No other explanation other than that. I literally seen nothing else besides Colby just getting caught with a big shot and getting put away. So ultimately, it was the power difference. And, you know, you got tough guys. We seen a fight just happened yesterday with the guy with a big power difference. Marvin Vittori versus Costa. But Marvin has a chin made out of granite, and he's extremely tough. And Costa, although had the power advantage, isn't the biggest one-shot KO artist anyway. So, basically what I'm saying is that Colby has to find a way to tire out Usman that's not just only trading blows with him, because he's going to get knocked out again if that happens. So what he has to do is, in my opinion, make Kamaru wrestle. Make Kamaru wrestle. At least go in there and attempt. If you can't get Kamaru down in the first few times, then try to find other ways to beat him, which is, you know, it's really hard to really explain it. That should just show you the likelihood of Colby beating Usman this time around. But yes, I do think that Colby can do it. It's just that he's going to have to really do everything besides sit there and strike with him. He has to find other ways to win. He has to use his kicks a lot more. He has to at least try to factor in the wrestling just a little bit. It can't be the exact same fight, man. Can't be the exact same fight. Because with the punches, Usman was literally walking through Colby's punches to land his own shots. Colby, if he throws kicks, Usman's not going to be able to walk through kicks. I don't care who you are. You're not walking through that. So yeah, Colby has to throw a lot more kicks in this fight. And try to wrestle a little bit. Just don't make it a standard kickboxing match is what I'm saying. But man, in my eyes, I just see Usman coming forward, like not giving Colby any space in the center this time, and basically walking Colby down and landing a big punch. That scenario just keeps playing over and over again in my head. But, you know, you never know. But if you guys enjoyed the podcast, let me know. Yeah, is more content coming out this week. It's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.